is the front of house person in the clinic is sales, aren't they?
100%.
Every business starts with a medical person that is passionate about treatments. But then when they come to that business, you have to sell the treatment. It's not NHS. Everyone's got a mindset where they're not thinking about cost. They're thinking about protocol.
100%.
So they come into the business and then they're scared of asking patients for money because in the NHS it's seen as do no harm, it's not ethical to think about cost. So they're frightened to ask about payment and then they think, oh, it's too much, so they knock money off. So then when you build a team, they're not thinking about that person has to be a sales mindset. And that's where it goes. Most of the people I coach, they can't sell creams, they can't upsell themselves, and they lack confidence in their skill. And that's the main things that hold them back, really, in any business. But I am different to that because I'm a medical person who loves sales and targets, which most people hate pressure like that, and I love it. So for me, I find it very frustrating to have a team that is not on it, thinking about all the opportunity everywhere that you can go. So that front of house role, the person that is meeting and greeting the patients, taking the calls, taking the bookings, upselling your offers, retailing and rebooking, it's essential. And if that, no matter how hard I push or the team that are doing the other treatments push, if she's not picking that up and moving it forward, if that's not happening in a clinic, then you're missing out on sales. And I see examples of that every day in practice where I'm recommending protocols of products and the client is coming to the till. This was just the other day, a client comes to pay. I didn't expect it to be £400 for creams. So instead of saying the benefits of this cream are X, Y, Z, then okay, we'll take one out. If you don't want to buy 3, you could try not using this one. That's the mindset. Whereas the mindset should be, these ingredients in it, the benefit to you is what you said in the consultation, you want to tighten those lines, you want a less saggy neck, that kind of thing. So it's just the way people speak and the way people's personalities operate. And I think a lot of businesses miss, a lot of corporate businesses do this, but a lot of small businesses can't afford it, they've never heard of it, they've never been exposed to it, is personality testing. And I think there's a huge opportunity there where if you can learn the personality types of people, so you can talk to them in certain ways to meet. If I know I can easily read what sort of dynamic the person is. Are they tactile? Do they like the nice, shiny, limited edition? Or do they want to think about something with all the information before they make that decision? If you can gauge what kind of customer they are, you can gauge the language that you talk to them in, you'll build a bigger connection, and then you become a greater rewards come from that.
You use the word connection.
Yes.
Can you help? What is the connection between a healthcare provider and a patient? What should it look like, and what does it actually look like?
So the connection between a healthcare provider and a patient is that they're coming to you for a need. They've sourced you because they have a void somewhere that they think you can fix. The medical aesthetics industry, which is evolving into regenerative medicine and wellness, and menopause, people are coming usually because they lack confidence in themselves and they think that having the treatment is going to make them look better because they might have had children or something happen in life. They look tired, they look older, or they might be young and they're not confident and they think by having a treatment it'll boost their confidence. So they're coming to you for advice and for a fix. Like a Red Bull gives you energy, they're coming to you to get that kick. So when they come into the clinic, you have to listen and build a friendship with them so that you can connect and they trust that you're going to give them what they need. And often they come in asking for something that's totally irrelevant to what they should be having. And you as the medical practitioner have to say, look, this is what the concerns are. This is the best way to treat them. And this is the plan. And when are we going to take it forward? But most people don't operate that way.
So you used words like trust, connection, listening. All that happens when they're in front of you in the treatment room.
It does.
What happens when they walk out?
That's the thing. How do they get to your clinic in the first place? And what happens when they exit the building? You've got to try and make them your number one priority and one of your top 10 things to remember to visit you in their life each month. And to do that, it comes with outstanding customer service. But the way to do that is by remembering people, making people feel important, making them feel part of something, making them feel connected. Just remember when you were a kid and you were in the schoolyard with a cool gang and you were excluded, how did it make you feel? Everybody wants to be somebody, and particularly in this world that we live in now, the new younger generation are coming in thinking they can be an influencer online. They want to be somebody special. They think that's the way to live a healthy, happy life. It's a pressured way we live. But all people want is connections, friendships, and to be listened and to be heard and respected.
Do you think that relationship should exist between healthcare provider and patient?
It should. In any transactional relationship, whether it be buying something from a store or going to see a medical practitioner or in a relationship with a friend, that should be happening. You should feel valid and listened to. And that starts before they come into the clinic. It starts when they look for what they feel that they need. They're looking online, what's available, what they think they could have to make life feel better each day, to make your life a little bit easier. So it's the touch points beforehand, the messages that you're giving out on marketing in your website, if they connect with you, how you respond in a message, how you sound in a voicemail, how quickly you respond, how an email comes across. And when they come to that clinic, is the expectation of what they see in the window on the marketing what they expected? Are you saying, hello, have you got an appointment with me today? Or are you saying, hello, Mrs. This is you're coming in for your 10 o'clock appointment today. How are you? Would you like to come through? I'm Sara, nice to meet you. That's how it should look like. And then when you get to know them, you ask them their favourite drink. You list that on your records. You ask them about their life, their family, that sort of thing. And then you list that in their notes. So each time they come in, you can say, hi, how's your dog? How's your kids? How was that holiday that you just went on? Do you want your favourite latte when you arrive? Because when people think, gosh, they remembered, they made me feel special, that's where the relationship building starts and the connection begins.
So, I totally agree with you. How do you do that across 10,000 people? You've got 10,000 patients.
The bigger the business, the harder it gets. And then when you're delegating to team members, they've all got to be singing from the same operational book, haven't they? And that doesn't happen. In our clinic, we say, take their coats, ask them to sit, relaxing music, relaxing vibe, offer them their favourite drink. Still now, the front of house doesn't always greet them by their names. She's too busy behind the desk. I was just going to sit down, Sara won't be long. That's not good enough. Take their coat, get them a drink. Even if they refuse, they've been offered. After the treatment, they should be made to sit and relax and see if they're okay. Go through what they've had done, their aftercare, and what's going to maintain their results at home. Offering them something else. They may not take it that day, depending on their personality type, but if you're confident in recommending the treatments, the outcomes, the benefits, how long it's going to last, the costs, and you're reeling all that off without having to say, I'm just going to look in the diary, I'm just going to look in the computer. It's a seamless process, and it's a big ask to get that, and you've got to have a strong team to do it.
So I'm going to give you an example of one of your patients.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a patient that you have, I won't say their name. They were a regular of yours.
Yeah.
A lot.
To my team.
To the clinic, I don't know.
Yeah.
They came in a lot. We were looking at it earlier today. I think in 2022.
Yes.
Suddenly they stopped.
Yeah.
No reason why. They stopped. They had been in a lot when they stopped. Then we started engaging with them, and after one message, they book in 10 appointments. There's obviously a relationship with you, presumably, or the practice,
yeah,
where it didn't take much to just put them back on track, reconnect them to the practice. How does that happen in the clinic? How do you maintain that personal focus, that one-to-oneness? You've got people floating around in the world outside.
You rely that you give them the advice that, they're to rebook, and you rely that there's a system in place that you write them on your 7-day callback if they haven't been able to book in because they haven't got their diary, which is unusual today because everything's on their digital diary, or they haven't got their roster. They should book in, but if they haven't, they should be called back by you or the team member that was treating them. And if the team member is full, that lies on the front of house. But it's all a check-in process, a manual task by people that you're relying on. Now, the diaries got loads of white gaps in it, but the front of house is not thinking, oh, I haven't seen, and I haven't got my list, and I could easily go into the back end of my system to print a report out of those customers that haven't been in and make connection. But also, it's important to say here that you can give a task to a team member and say, look, here's a list of clients that haven't been in for so long, get them back in. They can tick they've done it, and there's no productivity in the diary. And the reason for that is there needs to be a training process, but it needs to be the right person. So there needs to be, what's the objective here? What's the script? How are you going to approach it? And if that script isn't written right and the person on the other end isn't confident enough or doesn't have the skill set to deliver, it's going to be, oh, I phoned them, they didn't answer, they didn't want it, I left a message, tick, done, bye. And that's predominantly what's happening. They've had a list or what have you, or maybe they haven't. It was run by a manager, our clinic. I would say, look, you need to look at these patients. This is your list. And it was tasked down. And when asked about it, they would say, we're not here to do sales and marketing. And then as a business owner, that's a really frustrating concept, because people come to your business because of you. You're the main injector, usually in the clinic. You're the main hub of the business, and you're the passion that they come for. And they recommend your treatments with your aestheticians or your other medical staff in the clinic, and they trust you and they go to those people. If that experience isn't delivered to your expectation and then they're not followed up, the injectable client you may have handed over for maintenance as facials, and then they haven't rebooked and nobody's followed them up.
So you use two words of follow-up. We hear, you can imagine, in every imaginable clinical setting in medical aesthetics and dermatology and pediatrics and dentistry, those two words, follow-up, are weirdly important in healthcare in a way that they're not in restaurant or whatever else you go, some kind of other service. So when you think about follow-up, what do you want it to be? What is, in an ideal world, follow-up is X? What should it look like to your standard? If you had the time, which you don't have, if you had the ability to make follow-up exactly a la you, if you were doing every follow-up, what would that look like?
The diary would be full. The clinic would have more of a vibe. The sales would be lifted. The pressure would be off the owner, which means that you could then have funding to hire new people to help grow the business and move it forward into the direction you've always wanted it to be in. But without that, a clinic owner will generate an income to pay the wages they're not delivering and measuring to their target, and that becomes Groundhog Day. And it actually takes all the energy out of a clinic owner, and they become less passionate about their job. It becomes super stressful.
Pause there for a second. How are you feeling?
Fine. Yeah, I was just thinking about, I had a private appointment recently, and I haven't been there for 3 years, and that's because my life's got hectic. I went there and I liked the doctors, they were nice. I promised myself I'd come back in 2 years to have another one. I always had it in the back of my mind, I'll go back there. They were good care. And I was surprised at how I booked it, I had the scan, they had it in front of me, they delivered me the results verbally, and then they followed up in a week with a report of it. Just like that. And it was seamless. Anyway, they rang me just before Christmas. They hadn't been in business either because they'd had to move location. Things had gone a bit Pete-tong for them. But they rang, and I took the call, but I couldn't commit to booking because I had too many other things on, and it was quite an expensive appointment. So I said, look, I'm grateful that you've called, and they call me lots of times. You know, I do need to book this, but please ring me back next year. And they did. And I've been there, and it was the same doctor, and they got my scan result from 3 years ago and compared like for, and so it was good care. But they're good. I've got their email address now, the man who runs it, because I think you could help them here in London, because they want to grow that business.
Thank you.
Yeah, had they not have phoned me, I'd have been waiting another year maybe.
Drift.
Yeah, Drift. And then they go on Groupon, or they'll go on them systems thinking, oh, it's an easy, quick win. Or one of the other panics they do is they fund marketing packages. Let's throw into Google AdWords, Facebook ads. But even that, because I do that, I've done Facebook ads, and I've got a gentleman that does that for me now and then. We only run one at a time. But if it's not followed up, and when we did our first campaign, he was really frustrated, and he was like, they're not following up quick enough. So they're not. So then the manager was saying, oh, it's a waste of money, it doesn't work, and blaming him. I said, no, let's rerun that campaign and let's do it properly. Anyway, our PA now is doing that quickly. And we've got more people in the diary, and it's all through following an app. This is the lead, it's come through. Okay, it's been contacted, it goes in another funnel chain. They're in line to book in, they've booked and paid, done. And then you can see the revenue at the end. But a lot of people put money into marketing budgets and then they don't measure on it. How are we doing? What's working well? What isn't working well? And looking at the wrong marketing budgets to make the wrong wins. Like, people think organic social media is going to bring them revenue. It's not. It's just raising awareness. And it takes a long time to build that. Even if you've got somebody contacting me today, actually, he's fitness coach or something, always messaging me on Instagram. Oh, I run past your clinic every day, and then today I've got a proposition for you. And I said, what does it look like? So he sends me, see this post, I've got this many followers. So I just looked back and said, you might have all those followers, how does that convert into sales? What's the proposition here? Oh, I think your business is amazing, I want to raise awareness, I'm a fitness guru and I think people should come to your clinic. Cool, come for coffee, recommend me. But there's no collaboration in anything, because you're not going to get me sales just by saying that. It's about building blocks, isn't it? And I don't think organic social media does bring you sales. It raises awareness, but they have to have 7 touch points of marketing. And even then, sometimes people have to phone that person up. It's a prestige medical service that you're offering. They're not just going to click Facebook and book £500 worth of villas. It just doesn't happen.
So we've been working together now for
nearly 3 months.
Yeah, coming on 3 months, which is very good timing for us to start thinking about moving into warmer parts of the book, which would be exciting. Without any agenda, it would just be very interesting to hear, to understand what that's been like, what that's felt like, good things, bad things, any things around the experience of the last few months.
Yeah, so
you've got very thick skin.
Yeah, so I've told you this before, but at first I didn't know who you were, but I know Dan from the consulting rooms. So he'd gone on about, because I was talking about go cardless and the costs, and he said, oh, I know this guy, I've had calls with them, they're good, what do? Oh, they can take the payment system, it'll be cheaper. So that's how he sold you to me. Okay, so I spoke to you first, didn't really understand what you did. Even from what you told me, I didn't get it. I get it now, but the message wasn't clear. Okay, so that is really important.
So you get it now?
I get it now.
So what needed to be said then?
I think you're not a person that does cheaper payment systems. You've obviously got that as something extra that you have when you're taking payments. What you are is a 5-star customer experience that is a virtual reception team, sales team that can deliver that to a clinic owner who hasn't got that service in their clinic, and they might have, or they can't find the right person in their clinic. And the things that you need to sell, you're not an employee, so they're not having PAYE costs and employee management costs and all the headache with it. That's the sort of service you offer, isn't it? There's lots of elements of it you offer, but I didn't understand it, and then it went out of my head because I had so many other things that I was dealing with at the time. And then when you engaged back, I still didn't really understand it. And then you said that you can do the calls. And then I was fearful because you wanted access to our database. And then I was thinking about being part of a entrepreneurs group that I was in for quite a while. And they were like heavy ads, email marketing, always contact. And it put clients off because it was constant. Almost like you're selling some of these things that you sell on TikTok, and you sign up to buy 1 pair of discounted jeans, and you feel like in the end you unsubscribe, don't you? So I was frightened because of that. I was frightened because you didn't know my database. What would the people think if somebody that wasn't at front of house answered? Who are they? What did the message sound like? I was concerned, how was it sounding salesy? Because I've been sold before that I'm salesy, and I hate it when people say it. It's passion and drive, not sales. If a sale comes from it, fine. But that's what I was fearful of. And then fearful of the cost of it, and thinking, what if it's not bringing a return, and how are we going to measure it? So I think when you think about partnering with clinics, it needs to be the right clinics, because some clinics don't understand anything, and then the clinic's failing and they're going to blame you. You know, the guy that does my Facebook ads, that he gets that all the time and he hates it. And it's sometimes he's working the wrong people, because you've got to understand the process and that there are going to be teething problems. You're not going to get everybody in, and it's about collaborating together. So it's important, I think, that you target the higher end clinics with the intelligent medics running them that are looking to deliver that service and thinking outside of the box. As there are quite a lot of those, particularly in this area, and not the smaller clinics, because I don't think they'd A, be able to afford it, or B, see the value of it. So it would be like a real headache for you.
So you said like a whole bunch of fears, concerns, or price, some of them were around tone, brand, etc.
But mainly letting you come, because I didn't know you from Adam, did I? You could have been somebody that went in my database, took my client base, opened a clinic next door, and anything could have happened, couldn't it? And it's a patient data and all that, isn't it? What if you messed up our system? All that sort of thing.
And we're working together now for 3 months, so how have those fears materialized or not materialized?
So in the beginning, I saw patients that were on the list that I'd contacted. There's some friends of mine that I text, clients that text me, so I'd booked in, so they were on the list. I was thinking, oh, here we go. They're saying that these are sales of theirs when they're mine. But then you've got to think of the bigger picture, haven't you? They might have had a touch, you don't know whether they've had a touch point email or text reminder to jerk them into texting. People think they get preferential treatment if they text the owner, don't they know how it is? You've got to take a step back from that and think it's a collaborative thing that we're all doing it together and building clients up together.
How have you felt about I know that we spoke about this a lot, this idea of tone, brand, patient experience.
So my daughter had a text when we were on the way home from school the other night, because she's been in the clinic, and she goes, Mum, I've had this text from the clinic. I said, oh, really? And I said, oh, forward it to me. What does it say? Because I don't know what you say. So I think it's another thing that's good that is if you show the emails. And you might get some clinic owners who are control freaks, as if you work with lots of them, they want control. So you're going to have to say, this is your skill set, this is what you're trained in, and in your experience, this is how things are best written. Because I've coached clinics that don't listen to what you say, they change everything you tell them to do, control, and then they're telling you they're overwhelmed, but they don't delegate because they want to micromanage. So you need to be clear on your skills and how you can be better than them, but also if they have got a receptionist, because I think there is a need for someone to be there in a bigger clinic. Meet and greet, coffee, tea. You might have people that need prepping up for services, photographs taken, all that sort of thing. That person needs to collaborate with you, because that is all forming part of this reception, coordination, sales team. They need to know what you're doing. They need to follow up on clients. You might have clients that you've contacted numerous times and they've asked for a call from the clinic, so you might need to contact them. And that's really important, which is why we've changed our calls to a Thursday. And as it happens, I've not been available the last couple of Thursdays, which is good because we're trying to get the front of house in there. It's very quick answers, isn't it? And they're on courses. They might be on courses, but why aren't they booked for the next one? It'll run into another month, which means then their package price will run into another financial year and affect our cash flow. And the sales have been stabilising. It's still got a long way to go, massively long, and we need to grow by 50%. And then even today, just before I've walked in here, and if I take my eye and not go in and my shifts drop, then it's me that goes in and turns a big... You'll have a day I go in, I generate income, and so I need to get another injector that I teach to be there so I can keep... Because otherwise I can't direct and run the business on the ground doing the treatments.
I feel like, I remember when I used to run clinic, the thing that I always remember is at the end of every day, I would always find myself saying, okay, yesterday that patient said that thing, we have to make sure that thing happens. Oh yeah, that person said that, yeah, someone's got to follow up with that thing. So what do you do? How do you handle that?
What can you do? You tell them to do it and you hope that they do the task the next day. But often something else has come in and they've gone to do that.
And you're not...
And as a business owner, you cannot micromanage. It becomes exhausting. It's an exhausting task to do. You've got to have systems so that they actually do the job. And that's the issue, isn't it? They don't follow the...
So is that a system problem? Is that a people problem? Is it both?
I think it's both, and you've got to follow it up. So we use SharePoint. And in the lockdown, I was boring and sat and wrote SOPs for every system that we did. And thought... they got followed. Then post-COVID, I thought we'll have to have a manager. We're getting too busy. We can afford a manager. The sales went up like by 250,000. Yeah, they've gone down even below that now. And then the overhead's too high to cope with that drop. So we're like this in the middle. So there was a systems in place. And then there's a job description for a staff member, which is then simplified in a bullet point list of each task that needs doing. And each one of those follows an SOP. So when I have an appraisal with my team and they tell me they've never been trained, but they have access to Forest, they have access to SharePoint, look in there. There's a procedure for all of that.
So they've got the tools.
They've got the tools.
It's there, but it's not happening.
Yeah, and then I think when if you're a business director and it's talking big, imagine you were Richard Branson, for example, who runs that massive company. He can vent off all he likes to his senior team, who then vents, and it goes down. But if for a clinic, when you're the medic in the clinic and you're working on the ground, you're the team member, but you're also the owner. You're the team member, you've got to have a bit of a jovial cup of tea with them, and then the serious shit happens and you've got to then address problems. That is very difficult because you've got to then be firm, and they think you're one of the gals in the team. Then there's friction and they don't listen. I didn't check what the job was doing because I had a manager checking in, but when the sales started slipping and the accountant said this, you're going to have to make some massive change here. That job has to go because the company can't afford it. So that's what I did. I said there needs to be strategy change. I'm willing to work with you to develop, but the bottom line is the sales are not there, so keep 2 admin people in the job. It's very difficult after that.
Conscious of time, do you have anything top of mind for you? I just have one more question, but I don't know if it's off. Yeah. So I think one of the things that has been very interesting about working with, we have 1 or 2 other clinics where this is the case, but not always. We feel at least like we're trying to build something together. You say this in our chats.
It's true.
We're pulling in the same direction.
We're pulling in the same direction.
And I guess it would be interesting to hear from the perspective of running a business. What does that feel like to have a partner that, because quite frankly, our thing doesn't work if we're doing that. And
that's probably what you're going to get if you pick the wrong customer to work with.
Quite a lot. So I think it'd be interesting to hear from a business owner perspective, clinic owner perspective, what does that feel like? We know what it feels like on our side, but what does it feel like on your side?
Yeah.
You're in the clinic every day.
Yeah.
Now you've got these like people who are not there,
but they're pedaling the boat faster.
They're doing something over here.
Yeah.
What
so
is that experience like?
It feels good because I know that you're doing the job. This client's coming in, and it's a big job. So it's going to take time, but it's all about building and tweaking things in the right way to get people in. We've had only positive feedback from our patients, which was my worry. And if they don't want to come, they don't want to come. Yeah, it's going to come up with, oh, this client said that he wants a refund because he's going to take a review. And this review got took down by Google, so just ignore it. But it's learning, looking at whether the system's working and how we can collaborate more. I see it going, now that you're starting to connect with all the dead ones first, get them all back in, and let's see where that lies. And then I think you should have a tier system. You do that first and prove that works, and then move forward to take other calls that come in and make other calls, whether it becomes on a 7-day callback that we have a document that all staff put on that people haven't rebooked, and that if the staff haven't done it and highlighted it, it's just automatically picked up. Because they're not always doing their 7-day callbacks. They have half an hour in the diary now that's allocated, like a break, for them to do it because they're not fully booked right now. But
who answers the phone in those 30 minutes and you have all the same problems? You might not get them, then what happens?
Yeah. So eventually, if they become fully booked, then that could be on a live document on a Google sheet where, Jared hasn't booked in, he's on a 7-day callback with a date and a bit of a note. And then the staff could clear it off if they've done it, but if not, then it was picked up by yourself. That's one thing. And then if you're answering the phone, we're hoping that Forest will do payment links soon so we can take them deposits. That's a big thing. Tracy's still not taking deposits. And talking about the product of the month and the promotion and learning how, look, if someone's booking in for a hydrofacial, this is the protocol. You need to ask them, will they have a wet diamond? Will they have an extra to bulk the slot even more? One at a time, thinking about promotional things like that, where there's almost like a book. Right, they're booking in for this, like on Amazon, and these are the 3 things that are recommended with it, so that the person on the phone knows, yeah, you said someone today, wasn't there, somebody today that wanted to book in a facial and you asked to book it in. Mm-hmm. She will probably just book it in for the treatment they asked for. It might be the 30-minute, it might be the 60-minute, but they've just had a meeting with a rep 2 days ago. There needs to be more upsells, and yeah, they got their sale target to meet as well, but there needs to be more column filling. So what collaborates with that treatment that you can add as an upsell? And if 3 out of 5 patients upsell a product in a column, it means you're phoning less people and you're getting more value in the column, isn't it? So those kind of things need going forward. And then connecting with them when they've left the building. Courtesy calling, that's another service you could be offering. Checking in with patients, how they're getting on with creams. If you understood the cream sequence, you could be selling the cream for the prescription that we've sold online, that sort of thing. I don't know where you want to take it, but in the future, that's the sort of thing front of house is supposed to do. And I'm not saying they've probably got some great front of houses in certain clinics.
This, by the way, in the 2 years that I ran clinic in London and then the 1 year in New York, this was the thing.
Where was the clinic you ran in London?
It's in Great Portland Street.
What's it called?
Nama Studios.
I've never heard of it.
Tattoo removal only. And they started doing drips when I left. They have to own revenue.
Yeah, and they don't. But the thing is, if someone wants to work in sales as a career, it's a big money ticket to work in proper sales, and that's the problem. The clinic can't. Yeah, they're going to get 10x the salary somewhere else. In the UK, in the clinic market, you can't afford that.
No. So you end up with an administrator who's very good on service, very good on process.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, they don't own revenue.
I think I'd be good on a farm in a shed in the back of the farm. I'd make more money than running a clinic and having people doing.
So when people
Yeah.
come for initial consultation, picking up that journey, we already do that.
Yeah, we need to get, before that happens though, there's an issue in clinic, we're writing notes and things that we need to streamline, we're working on it, but we're trying to fix Forest first. But there's a template in there, you can have a treatment protocol, or we need some sort of form where everything goes in that form, and it's a digital form that sits in their notes that you can pick up. Yeah, and also, Forest is quite a good system, I think. It's quite, he's quite switched on, Ronan, that works in it. There's certain elements of the medical notes that don't work, but as a system, it's never going to be Salesforce, but we can't afford it.
Yeah.
It does need improvement, but that 7-day callback is a process. And another thing that we do is, in the hospital, we would always have a handover. So I call that a huddle in the clinic, and I learnt it from a clinic when I came to a training course in London many years ago when my baby was 6 weeks old, and I left her at home to come on this masterclass, and I had to do star jumps in the front because I was late back from lunch, and he said anyone late is going to have to do star jumps in front of the class. And I said, but I've got a valid reason. He goes, I don't give a shit, stand in front of the class and dance. Okay. But I learned a lot of him, and I learned this huddle system. In fact, he's in Australia now, and I still keep in touch with him. And what it is, it's a sheet, and I've got a system template for this and all. That is, in the Forest in the day, it tells you can print out a receipt column of this is what the billing unit or aesthetician, whatever you want to call them, has got coming in. She's got £1,000 in her diary today, but her target is £1,500. So the deficit is 5. So you write those in your sheet, you have it on your clipboard in your huddle in the morning, and we sit as a team over coffee. Right, you've got Jared today. You need to check if it's working. He needs to step up to this cream, and he needs to add this treatment. And that's what happens in a team huddle. But what happened in ours is that because I wasn't always there, of coffee, and then it was half an hour paid time. And then at the end of the day, nobody was checking in to see had they hit their sale.
This is the truth. No, this is the truth.
At the end of the day, I set myself a personal target in my head, and I'm like kicking myself. The last patient's in, and I might be 50 quid off what I'd put myself as a personal goal. What am I going to do on it? It's a business.